our goal here is not to scare you into not changing your mind. Listen, you're within your right to do it. I have changed my mind on projects. What we're trying to do is limit your changes to very few items, something that you just can't live without, that you found, oh my God, we've got to figure out how to get this integrated into the project. What we want to do is save you the time, the money, and the headaches of making these decisions on the fly, waiting till the 11th hour, or just arbitrarily picking items and then changing them, because we want to protect your pocket and your sanity through this process. You're at home with the Cousins. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Home with the Cousins. We are running back through the project planning series. If you've listened to this before, it is definitely worth another listen. There is an absolute ton of information in these 7 episodes. I would also encourage you to share this with a friend. Think about somebody who's got an upcoming renovation, wants to do a home remodel, and really isn't prepared to do so. Share this episode, share this series with those people. We really want to share knowledge here. After these 7 episodes, we will be back with all fresh content. Without further ado, jump into it. All right, so today we're talking about communicating with your GC. So we've gone through, the initial planning stages or early design stages, rather. We've gone through budgeting, and we've gone through building your team. Now it's about the communication process. And by that, we mean setting yourself up for success once the project is rolling. So having an actual conversation with your general contractor about how we're going to communicate about things. So real quick, let's recap the bidding process, right?
Yep.
It's been iterative. You've gone forward, you've gone back, and then you've gone forward again, meaning you got your ballpark bid. You maybe took 5 general contractors and you're down to 3. You gave them now highly detailed plans that are capable of going to the building department to get your permits, and you've received detailed line item bids from your 3 general contractors. You've taken those 3 bids in the spreadsheet that we posted. We'll link it again here in the show notes so that it's easy to find for you guys. And you've taken the bids from the detailed bids from contractor A, B, and C. You've normalized them through a spreadsheet that we've created so that you're calculating the bids on apples to apples basis. You've had multiple conversations. You've visited job sites. You've seen work, and you've made your decision. You're going with contractor A. So you've selected this person and you're ready to go. So what's next? What do you do next? So obviously you've got to get a contract in place. You want to be laying out a detailed scope of work, and you want to make sure all your documents are in line so that when they start, it's very clear how you're going to proceed together.
Well, and getting that detailed scope of work, and we talked about this, you're getting your scope of work. It's not one price. You're having that detailed bid where everything is outlined. So you're able to go through it and understand actually what you're paying for in every aspect of the job.
Absolutely. So when it comes to a scope of work, what exactly do we mean? So a scope of work is a document that's going to be written up by you. If you're working with an owner's rep or a construction manager, they have the capability of doing that. But a scope of work is additional detail that will supplement your architectural drawings. So the architectural drawings are going to have a lot of notes on there. Most of those notes delineate whether they can use PEX or copper for plumbing, the way the HVAC is going to need to be run, all the code notes that need to be on the drawings, any detailed drawings for structural elements that the contractor is going to need to build. But what architectural plans generally do not have
It's the design items.
is all the design items. The exact type of flooring you want, the color paint, I mean, look, there's a myriad of options that go along with design. You guys, I'm sure, are well familiar with all. I mean, backsplash tile, you name it, that is not going to be on your plans, and that's where a scope of work is hugely beneficial.
And the reason why it's so important, guys, you have to realize this. I know everybody probably thinks, oh, well, tile's tile, flooring's flooring, appliances are appliances. No, they're not. What you have to realize is there's different install practices for all of this stuff. So we talked about, of course, the planning process and how important it is to start picking out those materials, making your choices and your options, because you could have a tile that has much more labor than maybe just a subway tile that's pretty basic. It's an easy install, and it's a totally different price. So you're going to be going through your scope of work. You're going to be laying out all these different elements, all these little things that make your project unique. The contractor knows it ahead of time, so it's not a surprise. He can't come to you and say, oh my God, look at this tile you chose. This was supposed to be a 1-day job. This tile's going to be a 4-day job. Or the flooring that you picked, wasn't, it's a much more difficult floor to install. Those are all things that he needs to know ahead of time. And Anthony made a great point earlier talking about your architectural drawings normally don't have that. You might spend the extra money, and an architect, of course, can do a scope of work for you. That's totally up to you. But I think to save money, and that's what we're talking about here, save money, you guys do that. You write the scope of work. You have all the details.
Well, and you know what, John? I think it goes beyond saving money, because the fact of the matter is an architect, like you've said many a time before, has multiple clients.
Yep.
This homeowner, this phantom homeowner we're talking about, isn't their only client. They're not going to take the time that is necessary to put the level of detail into a scope of work that is going to be applicable and beneficial for you. So I think it's kind of money ill spent, because you're not going to get the product you want. We've done it before. We've asked for it. I've seen it done a multitude of ways.
Yeah, we have actually. That's right. On a bunch of our developments, we tried to do that with some of the architects, and it didn't work out well.
Right. So here's what we're going to do. In the show notes for this episode, I am going to post a scope of work. I'm going to remove my client's information so you can't see it, but I'm going to post a scope of work that I do for my clients. Now, here's what you need to pay attention to. Every scope of work is going to be different, because every project is different. Every project requirement is different. Look at my detail.
Yeah.
Okay? It's minutia, because I don't want things left to chance. There's also a very specific note that I put on the top of the page. When in doubt, the scope of work rules over the notes on the architectural plan. Why is that? Because when you have a set of governing documents for a job, who's to say what document? Well, the plans don't say I need to do this. Well, the scope of work does.
Yep. So
to jump ahead just a little bit here, when we get down to signing contracts, what we're going to tell you guys is the general contractor will bring you his basic form contract. What you're going to supplement to that contract as an addendum, you're going to have the scope of work that you've written up with the note that it's going to rule over the plans. You're going to have a smaller version, maybe 11 by 17 or even 8.5 by 11 set of the drawing documents. And all of these pages are going to get initialed, every single one of them, so that you have a really solid document package that's going to go along with your job site. You can throw it in the drawer, because you're only going to need to reference it if things go wrong.
Correct.
The contractor says, well, I don't want to do this. This wasn't part of it. No.
It's in the scope of
We
work.
all signed it. So it's not like you didn't know about it, because your initials are right next to mine.
Yeah, and you guys have, you should realize too, of course this is to protect you, but if you don't put these things, if you don't make this detailed scope of work and you get into the project and you want to start adding stuff, well, that's when the contractor's going to come back to you with change orders. And we know everyone always gets nervous when they hear that word, change orders, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But guys, if it wasn't discussed at the beginning of the project, if it wasn't in that detailed scope of work, that is the contractor's right. He has to do that. He has to make money if you want to change something.
Right. And what we're going to get into change orders in this episode. This is the episode we're going to talk about them in detail. But I want to spend some more time on scope of work, because it can be so beneficial for you. to John's point, he's absolutely right. It's for your protection. But I think even more importantly, like we've said in probably every episode thus far, it's about managing expectations, both yours and the contractor's. If the contractor is aware of it, he's gonna price for it. So this is how I would suggest going about it. In general, I like to have my scope of work ready before I go to my final bid round. Why is that? Because you're going to be able to get a perfect price if you're giving them a set of drawings supplemented by a 2, 3, 4-page scope of work. That's going to be everything. That's all your detail. I understand that this is a daunting process for a lot of people, first time through it. So don't feel like you need to give them a full scope of work with the plans. What you can do as an alternative is you can give them the architectural plans, contractor A, B, and C, and they quote it out. You select your contractor, you got contractor A. While they're going through the bid process, which we told you last time takes 2, 3, maybe even a month, 2, 3 weeks or even a month, depending on the size of the project, you can be working on your detailed scope of work. You're going to make your selection. Now you've got your contractor. Okay, I understand this is the price that you gave me based on the architectural plans. Here is my supplemental scope of work that I would like you to go through and adjust your price accordingly. Now, the price 9 times out of 10 is going to go up. Why? You're asking for additional things that weren't on the plan that he didn't see to begin with. But now you have a baseline, which is the architectural drawings, and you can see how much that price increases by adding your scope of work to it.
And I want to give everybody an example. And if you remember this, one of the clients we had in Hoboken, in Jersey City, it was the brownstone where we redid the whole garden level. We did the new kitchen and the backyard, and it was very high-end materials. It even though it wasn't a large area, we were putting a lot into this. We actually dug out, went underneath. So in the kitchen, for example, she had wanted a very high-end Calcutta gold marble. Now, when you look at the architectural plans, it just showed marble countertops, right?
Right. So they have their placeholder dollar value.
Of course. So marble countertops, depending on the marble, can fluctuate in many different ranges,
you ain't
right?
kidding.
So she went down. This was not in the scope of work. She went down there. She picked it out. It was a very expensive marble. She then had said, well, I also wanted to have a big, thick
fascia.
nose, like a fascia.
Yep.
It wanted like 2 inches, so it looked like it was built up.
Right.
Now, for an installer and a fabricator, that is a lot of extra work for fabrication.
Cutting a miter joint,
joints,
got veins that can break. I mean, it's a lot of work.
And she wanted it match booked as well. So that's another
book match.
Book match. You know what I mean. Back and forth. You know what I mean. Book matched.
Yep.
So that also took a lot of extra time. So the change order for this was pretty. It was high.
Steep.
It was steep. She was okay. She wasn't a client that really freaked out because she knew she had expensive taste.
Yep.
But she never told us this prior. Now, at the beginning, if we talked about this, we could have budgeted it into our price. It would have been a lot easier.
Right.
It wouldn't have been this. It was a large change order. It wasn't hundreds of dollars, guys. We're talking thousands. I want to say with the extra marble that she wanted, the extra work for the fabricator, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $7,000 extra dollars,
right,
just for the countertop.
Yeah. Well, look, when you're pricing,
and this was on top of the price that we already had in the budget.
Of course.
So we had a line item.
It's the supplemental price.
It was the supplemental. So that's a perfect example.
Look, countertops are by the square foot. It was a large area, if I remember correctly.
It was a big island.
Yep. And when you're jumping from $50 or $60 a square foot to $120, I mean, you're doubling the price. So it's no math puzzle to figure it out. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple math.
Yep.
But it's a great illustration, a great example to show you how quickly these things can change and how much material selection informs the bid process.
Yeah, it could really. I mean, and that's why. Luckily, she was well off. They own that whole brownstone. They can spend the money.
Sure.
We don't want people. I feel bad because I think people get so excited when they see things on TV and magazines online, and then they say, oh, I want that in my place, and they ask the contractor, and he's like, do you know how much something like that costs?
Right. But this is another perfect example of slow is fast.
Yep.
Take your time, cross T's, dot I's, and get all of your details in line before you start construction. That way you're not going to have any negative monetary surprises when it comes down to the pretty things that you get really excited about as the project comes to a close. And now, oops, all of a sudden we're out of money. So scope of work can be hugely, hugely beneficial. Okay, so we have beaten scope of work to death.
We got it.
Guys,
I know now.
Yeah, again, in the show notes, I'm going to be posting an example of what I've done. And then we're also going to have a template for you, which is basically just going to be a Word document broken into sections to try and get your mind thinking in the different areas within a construction project, whether it's roughs, finishes, mechanicals, and things like that. And I think if you print out the example that I've done that's completed, and you've got the template up on your screen, you guys should be able to make some pretty fast progress on dialing in a scope of work for yourself. So moving from there, we talked about annexing all these documents onto the back of the contract and signing everything. It's a general contractor's responsibility to provide you, the homeowner, with a contract. The contract is going to outline the basic way they work. It's going to protect you, or let me say this again. It should protect you and protect them. It's not meant to be a one-sided document. It's meant to be a document that is going to benefit and protect both sides. We're going to link a template that we have used in the past for general contractors contract as well. You can read that and look at it and compare it to the contract that your GC is going to be giving you. The contract that we used was very fair.
Yep.
And made sure it had protections for both sides.
One thing I want to note for people when you're going through the process of finally picking your general contractor, and we talk about this a lot when we travel on the road, is making sure that their insurances are in place.
That's you took the words out of my mouth.
That's something I think some people maybe don't think about, or they ask later. You want to get that up front, guys. You might find the person, you might fall in love, but let's make sure that you get their insurance.
Yep.
You make sure that they have enough in place. And I'm going to say at least $1 million. I mean, I don't think there's any general contractor should have anything less than $1 million.
The document that you guys are going to be looking for is the insurance accord for their general contractor's liability insurance with a minimum of $1 million in coverage.
Yep.
On that document, at the bottom left corner, there's a box that says additional insured. That's where your information goes.
Your address.
So your contractor, once you guys have said we're going to work together, they go to their insurance agent, they give them your name and your address where they're doing the work, and they add you as an additional insured on their policy. What this does is it puts in place the fact that you are legally entitled to be covered on their policy if they screw something up or if an accident happens within your home. We do not, John and I do not let a contractor start. I don't care how excited my client is.
Yep.
Unless I am holding that physical document in my hand, PDF on a screen is fine, but unless I have that document, nobody starts work on a job site.
And I want to point out, Anthony said, on the Accord, you'll see the liability should say $1 million, and sometimes what the guys don't do is also at the bottom is the workers' comp as well. That should also be $1 million on top of that. Sometimes it might be on a second Accord that you get, but the workers' comp is also very important, because if a contractor, subcontractor, somebody gets injured on your house, you want to be protected. It's happened on plenty of jobs to us where guys get injured, then they try to sue or they have to go for go to the doctor, and it goes on and everything gets billed to that job, to the site that they were hurt at. So make sure you're looking to make sure that the liability is $1 million and the workers' comp is
well said.
a million as well. It's very important,
Yeah,
guys.
and to any general contractors who might be listening out there, we feel your pain.
Yep.
Insurance is
It's a lot of money.
a pain in the ass, and it's probably the single highest cost that we have to bear.
In New
But
Jersey,
and homeowners, take into account here, guys. These are things that the general contractor's got to pay for. So that's going to wind up in the bottom line of your bid. So you start to wonder, why is construction so expensive? Why this? Why that? First of all, you're hiring a professional who's going to do the job right for you. And second of all, there are a lot of expenses in today's day and age that go along with being a general contractor, and insurance is most certainly a big chunk of that.
And unfortunately, it's part of the business. A lot of people get hurt. A lot of people like to sue, and you have to cover yourself.
Yes.
So this is for both parties. This is for the contractor and for the homeowner, for both people to just be covered in case it happens. If it happens, hey, the insurance is in place. No one has to worry about anything.
Right.
And you move on with the project. You don't get to that point saying, oops, this guy got hurt in my job, or someone walked in the job and they got hurt, and there is no insurance in place.
Right.
Then you have a bigger problem.
Okay, so before we dive into change orders, which is what I want to do next, I'm just going to recap the document package that you guys are going to have together. So the top of the pile is going to be the general contractor's contract, and you guys are both going to sign that. Annexed to that, you're going to have your payment terms. That's going to be next episode, guys. We're going to talk about how to structure payments next episode. But that is part of your document package, part of the communication with your general contractor. So, general contractor's contract, payment terms. Then you're going to have your scope of work and the official set of plans that has a copy of them in smaller format that have gone to the building department. Last but not least, you're going to have the insurance accord. That does not need to be signed by anybody, but you do want that to be part of the document package. Contract. I just lost my train of thought.
Contract. You have the payment terms.
Contract, payment terms,
Scope of work.
plans, insurance. Okay.
There you go.
Sorry,
See
guys.
that?
Okay.
Hey, look, but at the same time, you know what?
I've been doing it for 15 years, and it still gets confusing.
But you know what? It just shows you. But it's funny when we laugh at that. But there is so many steps in this. You see how many things go into this.
Yes.
This isn't something that you just go, oh, hey, yeah, no problem. I signed this one little contract, and it's over.
Absolutely.
It's all about the protection to making sure that you can work right and get things done fast.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get into the four-letter word of construction. Change orders.
Yeah, change orders.
So
don't be scared. Don't be scared.
No. So, again, it goes back to communication. And it goes back to managing expectations
and having the conversation before change orders come up.
That's the basic definition of managing expectations, right? Yep. You talk about something before it happens, so you have an expectation of how it will be handled when it does occur.
It will occur. Will occur.
Yes,
it will.
So here's the thing: when you have someone quote your job, they're quoting the plans, they're quoting the existing conditions. The existing conditions are what they can see. I don't have X-ray vision. John, no contractor has X-ray vision. What does that mean? It means we can't see through sheetrock. It means we don't know if your wiring is all jacked up in your house. We don't know if you've got a broken pipe in the slab in the basement that's leaking sewage somewhere. We don't know any problems. We don't know about any problems we can't see. Yep. Mold, asbestos, who knows? We don't know the majority of what can occur until we get into the project. What we're quoting on is the work that you want to take place to get your house from where it is to where you want it to be. So a change order is not a possibility. It's almost a guarantee.
It's a guarantee. It is a guarantee.
Unless you're gutting your house, which just means that, even still, if you're gutting your house, if guys start demolition and they find asbestos, you've got to bring in an asbestos remediation team that can cost. Asbestos remediation. The last one we did was $10,000.
$10,000,
and that was a small house.
And that wasn't a big house.
Okay,
and I would say the hundreds, and we've done hundreds of projects. We've always had a change order. There's never been one you say nope. There's no change order. We've had
some projects that have been worse than others. That's for sure.
Yep.
But there's 99 times out of 100 there's a change order.
Yep.
So we encourage strongly that general contractors have this conversation with you guys prior to a job getting started. They explain the process of a change order to you. This does not happen as much as we would like it to. So we want to empower you guys. We want to empower the homeowners to say, hey, GC, I know what a change order is. I understand that they're going to occur. That's not the problem. The problem is I don't know the process, and I want to understand how we're going to go about handling this together so that I have a reasonable expectation of how we're going to proceed.
And I think, and that's the key point, because people hear of change orders. The contractors for some reason don't want to talk about it because they feel like, oh, I'm
not going to get the job.
I'm not going to get the job.
You know.
I'm going to get yelled at. They're going to say, oh, you're already talking about change orders. No. Everybody has to realize that's a reality.
It's a fact of life.
It's just a reality,
You're right.
guys.
Absolutely.
I mean, you shouldn't try to skate around issues that you know are just going to happen. If you do that, then everybody's fooling themselves, and that's not the point here. The point here is let's make sure that we understand how to deal with it. Now, going in, how to deal with that change order. How do you really start it? Well, we tell people all the time, look, when the contractor finds that change order, he says,
he finds that issue. That will become a change order.
So he opens up the wall. There's a lot of wiring issues in your house, which we see. That's probably majority of a lot of change orders.
And before you dive in here, let's just put this caveat out there so everyone understands. If a contractor finds a code issue, a non-conforming code issue within your home, they're legally required to fix it. The inspector is not going to pass them and say, oh, it was there before? Okay, you can leave the fire hazard that may burn this person's house. No. They are required to bring it up to code. So that's the first thing to understand. Go ahead.
Well, as an example, guys, we've had projects with older homes, because probably it happens all the time when you have houses that are from the 30s, 40s, 50s. We start taking things down to the studs and we start changing things out. Well, all of the electric it has to be changed out. It's not like, oh, one or two. You're talking, we had to rewire houses because nothing was up to code.
Wire insulation's no good anymore.
None of it was a Romex or in conduits.
The wire sizes weren't heavy gauge enough to sustain the new loads coming into the home. I mean, there's the problems are endless. It's how you go about fixing them.
So as the contractor opens up the wall, he finds this issue. What he needs to do is he needs to show you. He needs to explain to you what the problem is. If it's wiring, if it's plumbing, if it's the HVAC, or is it something wrong that's with your actual framing of the house? He shows you what the problem is. You both understand it. He gives you the price. He tells you what he's going to change, and you both agree on it there, and you document it, and you sign off on it. That's the way it's done. It's not the contractor finds it, calls you on a phone saying, hey, I found this problem. I'm going to fix it. You know, when you get home, it'll all be done. Guys, you need to see the problem so you understand the money that he's quoting you, why it's costing that much, and your eyes are wide open to it. If you don't understand that, if you don't see it, and he tells you he fixes it and he closes it, how do you really know what you're paying for? How do you really know that he fixed it or he did find anything? So that's having the transparency of you seeing the problem, seeing how it's going to be fixed, and everybody understanding the price that goes into it.
And again, just like your original project document stack, there is a standard change order form, and a description of the work to be done, the problem to be fixed is on there.
Yep.
Maybe some photos if the contractor's so inclined to document the process. A stated price, and then both of you sign it as an agreement that this sum is going to be added to the total of the contract, and you're going to pay for that work to be done. And then, yes, you inspect it once it's over. If you lay that process out in the beginning, everybody's going to be on the same page. Everybody's going to be on the same page. And that, again, is what is key, is the management of expectations and the communication so you can get the job done. Now, we talked in the budgeting episode, you've got your 20% contingency fee. This is where the contingency comes into play. You know, these issues do arise, and you want to be prepared for them. Now, this is a change order that you can do nothing about. There are change orders that you can avoid. Those are the design decisions that you're making throughout your project. Now, John and I harped early on, episode 1, episode 2, about making your decisions, creating your design notebooks, even earlier in this episode, creating your scope of work with as much detail as possible. The more you do this, the more you have everything defined and all your items picked out, the less opportunity there's going to be for change orders. And John's example of the Calcutta Gold countertop is the perfect example of a change order that's avoidable. Now, that cost may not have been avoidable. It would have been in our bid to begin with, because we would have known, okay, on the scope of work, it says Calcutta Gold. We get the quote. We know what the labor is involved in that type of marble, and it's part of your overall price. But here's the difference, okay? When you have your overall price for the project and you see it and that's that, okay, you're prepared for that money. Now, if a problem arises, well, you've got your 20% contingency. It's unavoidable. You've got to fix it. If it's something that you could have had in your bottom line number, but you just didn't make the decision or you changed your mind on it, well, now you're using money that's for emergencies to put in a pretty finished product that you should have had in the overall scope to begin with.
And by example, again, a project that we worked on, and I think a couple episodes back we were talking about, we just said quickly, what's the most change orders? We said we got 20 some odd change orders for a project. Guys, what you have to realize is, again, why we talked about the scope of work and the architectural plans and how important it is to have them as detailed as possible. We were given architectural plans that were very basic. That's fine. You can get that. But all these design decisions were happening as the project was going on. Well, guess what? That's a change order, because their materials were higher end. There was more work going into it. And guess what, guys? It takes more time for the project. So if your general contractor said, this project is going to take me 2 months, well, guess what? You start racking up change orders and you start making all these design changes, and now your material that you thought you were going to have in a week has a lead time of 3 to 4 weeks, and now...
Well, the perfect example, dude, the project that you're referencing, we were down to the wire and finishing everything up.
Yep.
They still didn't have they still hadn't made a decision on their finished fixtures.
Yep.
They make the decision. We go to our supplier. Okay, we got to get these in for our client. Yeah, no problem. 12-week lead time. What? 12-week lead time. So
and just so guys, we were told a 12-week. It actually got extended even more.
It was 20, didn't it?
It came out to be like a 20-week, because these were totally custom fixtures that they wanted. So what I'm saying is, if we did this at the beginning of the project, we could have avoided that hurdle.
And look, I don't want our goal here is not to scare you into not changing your mind. Listen, you're within your right to do it. I have changed my mind on projects. Yep. What we're trying to do is limit your changes to very few items, something that you just can't live without, that you found, oh my God, we've got to figure out how to get this integrated into the project. What we want to do is save you the time, the money, and the headaches of making these decisions on the fly, waiting till the 11th hour, or just arbitrarily picking items and then changing them, because we want to protect your pocket and your sanity through this process.
Well, and I want people to understand, because we're constantly told, hey, I had a project, my contractor told me it was going to be done in a month to 2 months, and it ends up being 4 months.
Yes.
Well, then you and I delve in and we say, okay, well, tell me a little about the project. And you're saying, yeah, well, he found this issue with the wiring in the house, or there was an issue that happened with the framing, we had to change this around.
Yes.
And then you say, okay, well, that makes sense, because every change order is going to add time. And I think a caveat that we should throw on the change order piece, when you go through and you get the quote and he sends you the sheet over saying, well, I'm going to be doing X, it's going to be this amount of money, he should also be putting the extra time it's going to add to the project.
Right.
Because every change order adds extra time to your project, and at least you know that. So if you have something that you have to have it done, you're like, I can't have this project, this has to be changed, I don't care. Well, now you understand what the time is going to be to get that done as well. It's not only the money, it's the time.
Absolutely. So I think just last point on change orders, if you're unsure if something should be a change order, it's just not sitting right with you, or you're just unsure, which you're totally allowed to be. This is a complicated process. That's a great time to lean on your architect and maybe make a phone call and ask a question. You can take a few snaps on your phone and shoot him an email and just say, hey, these are the existing conditions. This is what the contractor's telling me. Here's the change order that he wrote up. Does this all sound accurate to you?
Great point.
Architects are very well versed in code, as they need to be, and they can let you know, yeah, this is a fair change order, or it doesn't sound right to me. Maybe I should do a site visit. Maybe the three of us, you, me, and the contractor should all get together and talk this one out a little bit. So that's just a good way to get a second opinion and to verify what's being said and to allow you to sleep better at night. So last part of this episode about communicating with your general contractor is technology. We've got so much of it in our pocket these days. Why wouldn't we use it on a construction site? Full disclosure here, this is a friend's company that I'm going to be mentioning, and I am on their advisory board. The company is called FieldLens. It's at fieldlens.com, FieldLens.com. It'll be in the show notes. It is basically, the easiest way for me to explain this to you guys is it's the Facebook for construction. It's the Facebook for managing your construction project. It allows you to communicate in real time with your contractor, with your architect, with your designer, with your CM, and you can be anywhere, just like you are with Facebook, Instagram, any of these things. Your contractor can take photos and videos and post them to the timeline. Your contractor can communicate with his subcontractors, telling them about deficiencies or things that need to be fixed. The subcontractor can then mark off the to-do item as fixed, and it'll give your contractor an alert. It'll give you an alert, and then the contractor can go and verify that it's done, push it into closed items, and everything is documented. And why we love this tech so much is that everything is server-side technology. So to get rid of the nerdiness, it basically means once something is posted, no one can delete it. It is a permanent part of the record for your job site. So it's a great way to keep track of all the critical tasks that are going on.
Well, and I love it. We've used it on so many projects. And like you said, when we have our busy lives, people are traveling, maybe homeowners are not around for the entire process, and they want to see what's going inside of their house. They want to see the progress. This is real time, just like you said. Yep. They can go on, they can see the updates, they can put notes on it if they want. They say, hey, tell me a little bit about this. I see this picture, what's kind of going on.
Ask any question you need.
Ask any question you need. And the great part is our projects can get, you start getting into the larger projects that are multiple months. They start to get very tedious, right? There's a lot going on. There's a lot of notes. Sometimes you forget things or the general contractor forgets things. This is a great way to see it in this timeline from start to finish. So if you had a conversation, if something was said by somebody, you can go back and you can reference that exact date. So it's there. It's in writing. No one is kind of shocked saying, no, I never said this. I didn't. You can easily put it in the notes because that's what it's about. It's about just making sure that everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely. And, the great thing from a general contractor standpoint is that you're not writing job reports at the end of every day.
Yeah.
You're not spending an extra 2 hours for this job once you're home when you want to be spending time with your family, writing down all the things that happened, who was there, what got accomplished. No, you can capture everything in real time. The electricians show up, they have 3 guys, you hit the labor button, you add who showed up to the job right when you see them walk on the job. You're creating all of the information as it's happening. And the plumbers can create it, the electricians can create it. Everybody is at liberty to create information and document what they're seeing.
Well, I think every in all honesty, for all the general contractors in general that are listening to this is a tool that you guys want.
Absolutely.
This really is. I mean, this is...
At the very least, I highly recommend you going on the website, watching some of the videos as to how the software works, and explore it. It's up to you guys if you're going to use it or not, but it's something that we are big fans of.
Well, and it's saved us. I mean, I specifically the development company that we worked for, and there were so many change orders, so many things that changed. We started using Fieldlands at the beginning. We documented every change order that was going on because we kept running. We ran into the bluestone when we were digging out the garden level. Yep. There was a lot of issues with the structure itself because it was actually falling down. We had to underpin. We had to do so many things. Well, guess what? All that was documented, and I specifically, because I used to go there for job meetings with the owner, and we would start talking about, hey, you know what? We're kind of a month behind our timeline here that we did. Oh, okay. Well, let me pull up Fieldlands because remember 2 months ago we ran into this problem. Well, now that's why we're behind schedule because we had major issues, and it's just a way to refresh everybody. Everybody remembers we all have busy lives. Everybody has multiple jobs. People get confused. It's a way to keep that timeline and to make sure that everybody understands what's been going on.
And I think it's a nice segue you just made for me. Everybody's got busy lives. Very true. And from a homeowner's perspective, you guys are at work all day, and there's people working in your house, and you're focused on your job, which you need to be. Here's one of the greatest benefits that I find with Fieldlands, and what I've always encouraged our clients to do. When they get home, when you guys get home, you can walk your construction site. Your contractor's gone for the day, right? You can walk the construction site, take photos and notes, and make a post with all your questions for the night. You don't need to call this guy up right away at 7 p.m., 8 p.m.
He's with his family.
What's going on with this? What's going on? Make a full post of all the questions you have that night. One post. You got the photos to support it. You can draw on the photos to make, to bring clarity to certain parts of images. You can do a video walkthrough with your questions. There's so many ways to do it. When the contractor gets on site the next morning, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., they can walk the same path that you did, use all the images for reference, and reply back to you with all the answers that you need during his normal working hours, so we're not interrupting his family time when he gets home and he's done for the day. So it keeps everybody a little happier. There's a permanent record of all these questions and answers within the job feed, and you're getting that information 12 hours after you've requested it. But nothing's changed overnight, so you're basically getting that in real time.
And the general contractor can push all of those questions and certain issues out to all the subcontractors, right? There's not
exactly
right. There's not. There isn't just one team working here. You're having multiple people that are on this job. So it pushes out. Everybody understands it. So when the electricians, the plumbers, the painters, whoever gets the spacklers, they get there, they know exactly what they have to fix, and that's it. It's done fast.
Yep. And then last but not least, it's a great tool to use at the end of the job when you're creating a punch list. You can create a new post for every deficiency that you find that you want the contractors to address. But punch list walkthroughs is going to be its own episode because closing out a job is something that is
tedious.
It can be tedious, and it is very important to do the right way on both sides of the coin. So we'll get there. But this seems like a good wrap up point for today. A lot of information here, guys. Check the show notes. We're going to have some download links for the various items that we mentioned today. That is another episode of Home with the Cousins. Thank you guys for hanging out. Hey guys, real quick before you go, we just wanted to say thanks for listening to the show this week. And if you have a second, please subscribe on the Apple Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts. And share the show with your friends so we can keep growing this great community. Remember to check out homewiththecousins.com to read our show notes from this episode, see past episodes, download our free renovation document package, or just to send us a note. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Carino Anthony and at Culinary John. Our show is produced and edited by yours truly, with original music intro and outro created by Steve and Joseph Padula. I'm Anthony Carino, and thanks for listening.